We're just gonna wing it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. You are on the American Sci-Fi Classics Track. You have made the correct choice for your Thursday night viewing and participating entertainment, because it is time for another American Sci-Fi Classics Track quarantine panel tonight. Entertainment, because it is time.
Oh. There goes the echo.
There's the echo.
No, we're okay now.
All right.
Is it me? I hope it's not me.
Well, that one was me. I forgot I had the YouTube thing up in another window.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, never mind. Okay.
All right. If you had 40 seconds to our first glitch.
Yeah, you are tonight's winner.
But we are getting the echo now. It is there, just FYI.
Yeah.
It's not like we've been doing this for a year and know how this stuff works, right?
Technology's so stupid. I mean, like, I was actually watching a YouTube video earlier today, and it literally was talking about how it's harder to do like D&D online because technology is dumb. Even though we live in the golden age of technology right now, like we're more technologically advanced than we've ever been, and we could talk to each other through fiber optic lines, but yet our technology is still stupid. So I fully endorse this, actually.
You know whose fault it is, and I hate to say this because I'm a big proponent of them. It's sharks. So a lot of the cables for the internet go underwater, and like there's a lot of instances of sharks just being like, "Fuck this, I'm gonna eat it."
Well, you see, they knew the cable lines were laid by the jets, so
right.
And also, I'm sure like the sharks are like, Al Gore didn't do enough. He was too busy inventing the internet to save the climate. Arr.
Seriously.
Too much snapping underwater.
They just want 5G. They just want that 5G shot. So
they got to get that 5G. Hey, so, ladies and gentlemen,
I got my second COVID shot. I'm full of 5G.
Woo! Ladies and gentlemen, we a lot of times, on the American Sci-Fi Classics Track quarantine panels, we derail the whole thing and start talking about other stuff. Tonight, well, we're doing that anyway. But what we're doing tonight is we are talking about the 30th anniversary of the Addams Family movie. And now I shall go around and let all of our creepy and or kooky panelists introduce themselves. One, internet, to my left. Toni-Ann.
Yes, I screwed up everybody by putting Wednesday as I am.
I
in
know
my
your
Wednesday
name,
conflict.
and yet I'm reading it going, that doesn't say Toni-Ann.
That's how we spell Toni-Ann in Italian. just in case.
The hand motion, like
Right.
Come on.
That's how you say a Toni-Ann.
Exactly. Bellissimo. So I'm Toni-Ann, incognito as Wednesday today. Howdy, everyone.
2 internets away from me, my unindicted co-conspirator, Mr. Gary Mitchell.
Greetings, everybody. And as promised, I have a thing.
Oh, what?
For Morticia.
This is a family show, sir. Okay.
We haven't even started, Gary.
Seriously, thank you, Joe. Thank you, Joe.
Jeez.
And Sam the Eagle rears his ugly head.
Fine.
Weirdo.
Gary's back again.
Wait, see, now you messed up all the placements, so you're going to have to...
I totally did. Now
All the cool people are up top, Sean. Nothing's wrong.
Hey!
cool people right there. So now one internet... Oh, stop it, Gary! Oh! Now 2 internets away from me. Stormy, welcome to the quarantine panels.
Hi, I'm Wednesday on Thursday tonight.
Wednesday on Thursday. That's great. 1, 2, 3 internets away from me. South of Stormy. Ladies and gentlemen, Shaun Rosado.
Hey, everybody. Yes, and as you can see, tonight I am Shaunus Addams because I just felt like just being Sean would just be... I needed to it a little bit, so... Yeah.
And 1 internet diagonally from me. Keith, how are you?
Hello, I'm Keith R. DeCandido. I write books, and I keep doing these panels because I never learn.
Yep. True. But let's see.
And I'm Gary
And
Mitchell.
again, good night, everybody.
Joe's like, it's too late.
I
I
already
need
introduced
sleep.
Gary. And
I meant to bring a light bulb to put in my mouth.
dang, I did. I don't know if you guys would be ready for me to cosplay Wednesday, but I did wear my Wednesday T-shirt.
Yes.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
I thought about, and I didn't get my acts together to do it. There's a pizza place here in the Bronx called Pugsley's Pizza, and I meant to get a T-shirt from them to wear that today, but I did not get my fecal matter together to do it. So
They have very yummy pizza.
they do.
What?
Yes.
Everybody's gone to Pugsley's Pizza. It's ridiculous.
Yes.
You got to get
So-
that PP.
Gary, my finger's on the button.
That's what I've been
He's
hoping
shiny,
for all
red
this
button.
time.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay, so anyway, Addams Family.
Sorry.
Joe's
We
fingering
haven't
my
even
button.
made it to 6 minutes, you guys. It's all gone to pot. It's all gone crazy. So let's talk
Oh, we're
about
early
Addams
this week.
Family.
A new record.
It is a new record. It is a new record. We when we go back to live action Dragon Con, we're only going to have like 50 minutes to do these things. So we got to get this stuff out of our systems. And by that I mean, don't get it out of our systems. Who cares?
Yeah, I mean, as far as the efficiency train goes, right? We're already 6 minutes and 22 seconds in, and it's like we've had 2 technical screw ups. Gary, well, basically being home cologned. Yeah, so yeah, we're doing good. I think. I think on average, I think we're doing just fine.
Here's what's
And
going
I
to
do have
happen.
to agree with Matricula, who says cold pizza is nature's perfect food.
So what we're going to do, when we go back to live action conventions and Dragon Con and such, we're just going to keep doing stuff like this. We're going to do an hour and a half panels. They're going to say, no, you have to leave. We're going to say, no, we don't. We're really not.
You have your own room. You can do what you want.
Yeah, exactly.
Rules at Nerdy Gra.
Yeah.
There are no rules, indeed.
There are no rules for us, but when they have to put the track together, oh man, they have rules.
That's right.
Because when it's a hard hour or a hard 2 hours, right? There's no middle, if I remember
There's
correctly.
no middle.
Yeah, there's no middle.
If there was some way I could say an hour in like 36, 37,
Right.
nah, we don't know. We don't know yet. There's no option for me to put, we're going to wing it.
Yeah.
On something we should most certainly not wing.
Yes.
Yeah.
But thank you guys for coming. Thank you guys for hanging out. And now let's try to start the panel again. Addams Family. Okay, so the Addams Family, was it the first movie to successfully adapt a sitcom and not be terrible?
Well, it wasn't okay.
Oh.
First of all, it wasn't adapting a sitcom.
You are correct.
Adapting a bunch of New Yorker cartoons that dated back to 1938, which was also the source material for the sitcom. It did use some elements from the sitcom also that weren't from the comic strips that Charles Addams did, but it's strictly speaking not really a movie version of a sitcom entirely.
Entirely.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
it's
well-
certainly one of the most successful, though.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, for sure.
The thing
And
is,
all of the casting was just so perfect.
Phenomenal.
Wonderful. I mean,
Mhm.
Gomez and Morticia are couple goals. Wednesday Addams is I feel very close to her. Christina Ricci's portrayal of her is just like, especially the lines, like, are they made from real Girl Scouts in that deadpan, like just classic stuff that I use in everyday life.
Yeah, my
It's true.
absolute favorite is at the very end. Is like, Pagsley, are they dead? Wednesday, does it matter?
It's given about 6 hours, they're going to be dead. So
yeah.
And
Yeah,
that's one of the things is like this movie, up until this point, Wednesday was an important part of the Addams Family, but her performance made Wednesday the breakout.
Mhm.
Yeah. I think she
Yeah.
definitely like set the bar for a lot of because Christina Ricci is only like 1 year younger than me. So I think she set the bar for like our generation's goth girl goals. Like
Mhm.
for sure.
Yeah, it started with Miss Dietz in Beetlejuice, but
Beetlejuice,
then but then Christina took the crown.
Yeah.
I think that's something that we really have to give credit for, is that, you know, basically by the time the Addams Family rolled around, we as a culture had been primed by Tim Burton movies. At that point, Tim Burton had kind of brought in that goth aesthetic, you know, from the late 70s, early 80s. And he was like, this is totally legit. You can totally get away with it, you know? And so they said, well, what fits that? Because everybody wanted their own Tim Burton movie, but they didn't necessarily want Tim Burton, you know, because Tim Burton was expensive. And the Addams Family was a perfect moment to adapt this, you know, basically the twisted version of Family Circus, which is what I've always assumed people associate when they think of the old, like, you know, comic strips, is like you have Family Circus over here, which is like the nice, you know, sunny side of the street, and then the Addams Family's right across the street, and it's all rainy clouds and everything, and they just live directly across from each other.
Don't forget the golf balls flying into.
Right? Yeah, absolutely. You know, and so then of course you have the TV show, and I don't give this enough credit. You know, I know that they were on more or less at the same time and they fed off each other a little bit, but the Munsters I think also gets a little bit of credit too for just kind of bleeding into it, because I see a lot of Munsters in the Addams Family movie as well, not like in a bad way, just in a, this is the vibe and the aesthetic that we're going for. And it worked. I mean, because at its core, the Addams Family was originally basically just a bunch of serial killers who loved the macabre and the dark, and they just didn't mind murdering people. And then you get the show, and the show makes it a little bit more supernatural. You get things like Gate and whatnot. You get Cousin It comes in a little bit more, things more prominent, stuff like that. And then by the time you get to the 91 movie, 91? Yeah, 91.
Yeah, 30 years.
One movie.
I only know that because on the
30th
panel it said 30.
Right, but my brain for a second went 91. But
that was only 10 years ago.
I know.
Yeah, seriously, you're not wrong, Toni-Ann.
If anybody needs me, I'll be quietly walking into the sea.
Yes.
But I mean, that's what it really feels like. Is it feels like all these elements just had a perfect moment where let's just pour all of this inspiration in, and I'm so happy that it happened then, because as I think Toni-Ann said it, or maybe it was Stormy earlier, the casting is just divine. I mean, everybody is perfect in this movie. The only one that I always thought was a little weird, and he won me over so quickly, was Christopher Lloyd. You know, and how can you not love Christopher Lloyd in this movie?
Yeah,
I mean, it's so great. Yeah.
I remember when the movie first came out, there was some resistance to Christopher Lloyd, and it wasn't so much Christopher Lloyd as Jackie Coogan had such a distinctive voice, and so anybody who wasn't doing that felt wrong initially. But Lloyd just nailed it. The one thing I want to mention also that I think the movie captured perfectly was not just because both the Munsters and the Addams Family sitcoms were basically taking the sitcom tropes and mushing them together with, in the Addams Family's case, the old Charles Addams cartoons, and in the Munsters' case, the old Universal horror movies. And just sort of, you know, taking the one chocolate and the other peanut butter and mushing it together. But what Barry Sonnenfeld in particular did really well with these two movies was capture the same aesthetic that not only Charles Addams had, but a lot of the early 20th century cartoonists like not just Charles Addams, but also Edward Gorey and Gan Wilson. And that really macabre, twisted, feeling almost Victorian, even though none of them were actually working in the Victorian era, horror that they had, that aesthetic. Burton was very much inspired by Edward Gorey too.
Sure.
Oh, totally.
And as were the Coen brothers, which is where Barry Sonnenfeld got his start as the cinematographer for them. And I think one of the many reasons why this movie worked so beautifully was just a perfect storm of taking the best elements from not just Addams cartoons, but also from the sitcom, and that aesthetic, and that letter perfect casting that Toni-Ann and Stormy were talking about. It all came together perfectly.
Well, I mean, elements of a sitcom with the parents who are involved in the kids' lives, right? They're so supportive of them at the play and going to the parent teacher conferences and, you know, making sure that they're, you know, and then the kids trying to help out the family when the family gets, you know, out on the street and all these, the little things like Keith was just talking about of what a common trope would be in the, you know, even the 50s and 60s sitcoms. But they bring it to the movie in such a believable believable way. That I could totally see that happen. Like it didn't feel fake to me, or that they just wanted to do this thing. And all the lines just hit.
That's the thing. These guys were not. I mean, we knew Raul Julia and Angelica Houston were known quantities, and of course Christopher Lloyd was. But nobody said. Nobody was like, I can't wait to see hilarious Raul Julia, you know. But he's hilarious in this.
Yeah, I loved him from a little weird movie called Moon Over Parador, where he's a psychotic, basically Latin American strong arm guy, and I fell in love with him in that role. So I was like, he's going to be Gomez, and then you see the movie, and he's Gomez. I mean,
and you know what's funny is that the impression of all of these actors from the 91 movie and then Values a couple years later is so iconic that when they came out with the cartoon, which did phenomenally well just a couple years ago, the initial reaction to seeing them going back to the old Charles Addams style as far as their character designs, people are like, I don't like this shit. Like they're like, they need to look like the movie. They don't need to look like the cartoons. And that really shook people because that's how well those actors they just slapped those characters around and made it theirs.
Well, and like Lee says there. Oh, go ahead, Keith.
I was going to say, around, I don't remember if it was before or after, but it was around the same time as the Addams Family movies. I got to see Raul Julia do a performance of Othello in Central Park here in New York. He was Othello. And he was amazing. And he was doing it the same way he played Gomez. He was completely bombastic and over the top. The best part was he was playing opposite Christopher Walken as Iago.
Ooh. What?
And he was doing basically Iago from Brooklyn. So he was doing while Raul Julia was shouting to the rafters. Yeah, it was a great production.
Just trying to imagine Christopher Walken.
I shut this thing down. I gotta figure out. I gotta parse that somehow.
But there was a lot of the same energy. It was a much more serious energy in Othello, obviously, but it was the same kind of bombastic, over the top, manic energy that he brought to Othello that he also brought to Gomez, and just the sheer, the way he basically gave 100% into everything, every line, every gesture, everything was just completely all in.
Mamushka.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody in that movie was into it and throwing 1,000%. And I want to like what Lee says about the chemistry between him and Angelica Houston.
Yeah.
The chemistry between the whole cast, really. I mean, you bought them as a family.
Oh yeah.
And one of the things I've seen go around quite a few times is the fact that the Addams Family was designed, or sort of the sitcom was a send up of the traditional American sitcom where, the wife and the husband hate each other. And these two are passionate for each other.
Absolutely.
And just can't get enough of each other. It's like, this is relationship goals, people.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I would live for her. I would die for her. Either way would be bliss.
Yeah.
Right. And I think
that's awesome. So, Stormy, tell us about Angelica Houston. What's the best part? She's
a goddess, and apparently immortal, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
She's just, I mean, everything I've ever seen her do, like, just phenomenal. And I remember when I was a little girl, she was in The Witches. I don't know if you guys remember that.
Yes,
absolutely.
It was so scary to me as a little girl, and like, especially because like she's just so beautiful, and then she turns into this like hag creature, and but everything you see her in, you believe that she's whatever she's supposed to be, like in
in the Mists of Avalon. She was totally, and she brings that energy, not maybe as bombastic as Julia, but she has her like that calm sort of very sexy, kind of and the way her voice is, like, it just, no matter what she's doing, you're like, yeah, I'm listening to what you're saying.
Right.
I was gonna say, like, her performance in Addams Family, especially, like, she's definitely like the straight man to Gomez's like over the top, eccentric, you know, and she's just very deadpan, but she's very serious, but she's very sincere. But there's still like a light in her, like when, you know, whenever they have a silly, morbid joke, she's always
Uncle Knick-Knack.
Yeah, she's always part of the fun. And it's, I mean, I would watch her read the phone book if the phone book was still a thing.
Right.
Like,
And I mean, there are two things about Angelica Houston that I always thought was great about this, which was one, literally Stormy's talking about, you know, she always has this light. Literally, like that woman had to know exactly where to stand at all times so they could get that damn light across her eyes, right? And if you've ever had to stage direct somebody or make sure that somebody has to be exactly on a spot in order to get a shot or to get a light cue, that is insanely difficult to do. And people who do movies don't normally know how to do that because they're not traditionally trained. So to know that Angelica Houston, from what I understand, always hit her mark and they always got her lit up. One, always give kudos to Angelica Houston. You will never go wrong. And then two, as much as we talk about how she plays things low key, she plays it low key verbally. But if you watch her eyes and her face, she is over the top. Like her face is hilarious in these movies. I mean, she's doing everything in the eyes. Everything in her face and her eyes, she's just, it will crack you up. Just mute it and just watch her face, and she will crack you up every time. Like, she's amazing.
Oh, she was also the one who probably took the most. She made it her own, but her performance is closest to what the sitcom did. It was very obviously inspired by Carolyn Jones, right? That sort of, you know, goth waif-like. Vampiric aesthetic that Jones did so well as well also. But she absolutely made it her own.
Yeah. Well, the scene, which is one of the I hate saying one of the standouts because really every moment between the opening credits and the end is a standout. But when she's talking to Fester, which at that point he's still a fake Fester, and saying the family motto, "We gladly feast upon those who would subdue us." Watch her face, watch his face. It's beautiful.
But the best part about that is what she says right after that. Not just pretty words.
Yes.
Cracks me up. Like
and she deadpan.
Yes. Oh my gosh, she's not just pretty words. And I'm like, oh, you don't mess with her. She will eat you alive. Literally.
Christina Ricci's Wednesday did not get created in a vacuum. She is her mother's daughter.
Oh yeah, yes. Absolutely.
Yeah, and let's talk about that because Christina Ricci is, I think, I want to say she's the standout, but everybody is so good. But no one
expected standout.
Yeah, she almost steals the movie from everybody else,
which is not an easy theft in this movie.
She's got the best lines. Like every time I want to put a meme, it's of her. Like it's yes, there's the Raul Julia going, "I'm that fool," and you know, yes, there's some really good lines, but. And even from the second movie, which I know is not the purpose of this panel, you know, when she talks about the Native Americans and how they're and we will not eat with you this day, and that whole speech every Thanksgiving I play that. Like that's it needs that and the Arlo Guthrie, you know, those are the two things that
do not trust the Pilgrims.
Yes. Right.
I'm a turkey. Eat me.
But I think the thing that's best about the movie is the consistency. Like in the opening scene where they throw the hot oil on the carolers, and then later every shot of the front of the house, there's the oil spill on the back of the, you know, on the door. Like all of the things that happen, you know, any little thing that happens in the stairs when Pugsley and Wednesday are like trying to kill each other, it's all there. And it's wonderfully consistent.
Yeah, the production design on this movie is astounding.
Yeah.
The house is perfect.
I did want to circle back real quick, if nobody minds.
Go ahead.
Talking about, first of all, Wednesday being Morticia's daughter. And the way Christina Ricci, she played it very much like Angelica Houston. Like she's very deadpan, but her face like gives you all the acting that you need. Like from the glee in her eyes when she throws the switch for Pugsley to be electrocuted.
One and only time she smiles.
Yes, and like you know, when they're doing like literally anything else, and she's just so like just stone, but everything in her face is still somehow expressive of whatever is happening in the scene. And I think that's not only phenomenal for Christina Ricci on her own, but because then it makes her even more believable as Morticia's daughter.
Yeah.
Well, watch her face in the electrocution.
Yeah.
And when she just lights up and she's just
And then you know that must have just been, okay, I want you to think about something that's going to make you really happy. Okay, I can imagine what, like, because from what I understand, Christina Ricci is a little method. So I'm just imagining how she's getting into the Wednesday kind of train of thought. And I'm like, what was she thinking about when she was electrocuting her brother? She was probably thinking about electrocuting her brother.
Yeah.
You know, which, speaking of which, poor Jimmy Workman, great Pugsley.
Oh,
Nobody
yeah.
talks to him. Like he's so underrated and so understated in the movies because basically he doesn't really do a lot of dialogue. He's basically the straight man out of all the Adamses. He's the straight man.
For Wednesday, yeah.
He's the one who's going to move out, go to college, and become an accountant. You know,
you know, right? Yeah, and I feel
he's
so
also
bad
the
because
one that pulls the stop sign. You know,
That's
he's got those understated things, and you hear the crash in the background, and Gomez looks at him like, that's my boy.
That's the boy.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's so he's doing some low key things, but you're right. He's probably gonna go to college and get married, and maybe have a white picket fence instead of a black wrought iron one.
Right. He's the one. He's the one who goes and
off flies. Right.
I was going to say he's the one who goes and marries Marilyn Munster, right? Like he thinks he's getting a normal girl, and then he meets her family, and he's like, "Oh no, another one!" That's the crossover. That's the crossover we're all waiting for.
I would pay to watch that.
but you know that Gomez and Herman would get along like a house on fire.
Oh yeah,
totally. And that's one of the things that I think we should talk about is that one thing that I have found fascinating. I've written actually a few articles about the Addams Family over the years. I wrote one about how, you know, if you can't watch just one movie, you have to watch them both. Like it really is just like one really long movie. And I was like, I wrote about how you can't do that. You have to watch them together. How Addams Family Values is a Thanksgiving movie. I did a whole like 2,000 word, like I was in it. But one of the things I had written about one time was I was talking about the fact that the Addamses are also extremely lonely because nobody gets them, which is what makes the first movie so intrinsically sad, because all Tully would have to say is, I am dead ass broke. And Gomez would have saved his ass.
Yeah,
absolutely.
This whole movie would have gone a completely different direction, because even though he will slice you up, he will chop up his enemies, he will put people in a blender. If he considers you part of his family and his friends, which he did with Tully, you're on the golden scrolls. You are not going to get touched. And Tully does not understand that relationship.
Yeah.
And it's so sad.
Yeah, well, that's kind of one of the things about the Addams Family I love, is that acceptance of who they accept everybody for who they are, which is all they're asking for.
Yeah.
And so, and other people don't get that and just see them as these weirdos to either, you know, try to take advantage of or get away from, and don't get to know them. And so it's kind of a lesson there for us to, you know, be open, be accepting. And when you find someone who's a weirdo, celebrate that with them, like Gomez.
Exactly. And of course, you know, Tully, you know, if Tully would have said, I'm a liar, I'm a thief, I'm a cheater, I'm pretty much a scumbag, and I'm at the end of my rope, and I'm going to get killed by the mob if you don't help me out. First off, Gomez would have asked for the mobster's name. They still would have found Fester, but that woman would have ended up in a ditch. Well, she did anyways, but she would have ended up in a ditch way sooner. And then Tully would still have been alive. But I mean, I just find that so fascinating that for a man who spent a lot of time around the Addamses, he never got them. And that makes me so sad for them in that world, because there are so few Addamses, and we need more Addamses.
That's true in the second movie too. If Debbie had just been upfront with them, she would have been welcomed into the family. You know, somebody who went with all the previous husbands is perfect for them.
You're a psycho.
I mean, Morticia even says it straight to her face. Like, I can forgive everything else, but pastels?
Pastels, yes. The unforgivable sin, pastels, right?
Well, duh.
And even at the end of the movie, when they're all in the electric chair, and she was like, did anybody think of me? They're all like, we deserve to die. Like, they're on the same page. Like, we should die. We suck. We were not thinking about Debbie the way we think about the rest of our family, you know? I mean, both of these movies are basically people who do not understand that they're Addamses, and they just need to accept that they're Addamses. And those who did, like Tully's wife, they're cool. Those who don't, they die. Yes. Except for the judge. I think the judge got away. Do we ever know if the judge got?
Yeah, he was never going to be part of the family because he was a neighbor.
Right. Right. But I'm saying, but did the Addams ever make him like conveniently disappear? Like,
no, I don't think so. I think he just moved. He's like, no, I'm
I
want to move.
As soon as the judge appears, it's Bentley from the Jeffersons, and I screamed because of that. I was like, it's Bentley. And he's just as good in Addams Family as he was in the Jeffersons.
Right.
But there's so many good things. I don't want to skimp on talking about Christopher Lloyd.
Oh,
yes.
Because this movie shows up on TV now every year along with Addams Family Values. And the more times I watch it, for some reason, I'm remembering now that I was kind of bothered by Fester's plotline in the first movie. Because is that Fester? It really bugged me for a long time. Is it really Fester, or did they just convince him he was Fester?
Well, Joe, when I think about that, I was right there with you, because my dad and most people that I knew who knew the Addams Family, their favorite character was Fester. Fester was kind of, at least from my recollection as a kid, Fester was always kind of the standout character from the old TV show. They liked his goofiness. He was like the Curly, so to speak, of the Stooges, right?
Definitely, yeah.
He was the wacky uncle everybody wanted.
Right. So when you go into the movie, and the whole movie is this really Fester? You're removing the quote unquote popular character, but that allowed all the other characters around him to have the spotlight. And you still get Fester in the end. And Christopher Lloyd gets the chance to do something really interesting, which is he gets to be Fester, but he's discovering what it is to be an Addams. And that's because that's our vector into this family. We get to understand. We get to discover what it is to be an Addams with him. So I think it worked, but I get you.
He's our point of view character, and it works beautifully.
Yeah.
And then at the end, we're all Addamses, like he is.
Absolutely.
It's funny. My favorite character on the original on the sitcom was always Lurch.
Oh yes.
And
Lurch.
Playing the harpsichord.
I have a funny story actually about the casting of Lurch in the movie. Carl Struycken, when he found out that there was going to be an Addams Family movie, he had his agent immediately call them and say, "You gotta hire my guy. People mistake him for the guy who played Lurch all the freaking time." Everybody, constantly, people thought that Carl Struycken was Ted Cassidy. As soon as he opened his mouth, they knew he wasn't, because Carol actually has a very high, soft voice.
Right.
Nothing at all like Cassidy's, which is why
Ted Cassidy had this voice.
Right. Yeah. And that's why they didn't really give him any dialogue, because they knew. I mean, you can change Jackie Coogan's voice, you cannot change Ted Cassidy's voice.
Yeah, Lurch has to have that "I've been thrown down the bottom of a well."
Right. You got to have that. Yeah.
And Struycken at least did the grumbling part really well. So.
Right.
Yeah.
And what's funny is, talking about, Struycken for a second, he was, somebody actually just said he's Mr. Hom on Trek 2.
Yes.
And he actually,
Sonnenfeld used him in Men in Black also.
Yeah, right. And what I always thought was funny was that the only time you ever hear him talk is like one of the very first episodes where he basically, you realize that Mr. Hom is a lush, and he actually can hear what Lurch would sound like. He's like, "Thanks for all the drinks." And then he gets teleported away. And so I always imagine I always imagine that's what Lurch really sounds like. Is just so if you want to, I forget what episode it is. They were going to marry Deanna Troy off to somebody, and they
all right, Keith.
It was Manhunt, I think.
Yeah, I forget the name of the episode.
I forget.
Yeah, but yeah, go watch that if you want to hear what he sounds like.
Because he worked for Loxana. How can he get a word in?
Yeah,
seriously.
I will say I met him at a con, and I'm 5 foot tall.
Oh, me too.
So that was a whole lot of fun.
Great.
Because he's pushing 7-8 feet, right? He's like 7.5.
Ridiculously tall. And
he's
when you're a normal person height, it doesn't matter
for how tall he is. And I was just like, yeah, that's exactly what I imagined, 8 foot tall to sort of look like. But he was very, very sweet. And his voice is that little bit different. But he doesn't even need to, like, he has that presence of Lurch. And if you think about the character, a butler doesn't really, say much, right? And they just have, and he's also sort of kind of their enforcer and their protector. And so he just needs to look intimidating, and how else to look intimidating but to be really freaking tall, and sort of menacing. And it was just, it was great.
Absolutely.
It was great.
Yeah,
For a
and
lot of
I have
years-
a friend of mine that Lurch was her favorite character as well, partly because of the way the dichotomy of the big, imposing, but he's actually a gentle soul. And her favorite thing in the world was watching him play the harpsichord. And so the fact that they let him do that, like briefly in the movie, was like one of her, like, okay, good, I won't burn the theater down.
Yeah, you have to have every time you have to have Lurch playing the harpsichord. You got to have at least for a minute. And I was really happy with the cartoon that came out a few years ago where he actually was noodling. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but he's actually noodling on the harpsichord, and he figures out how to play that's how they discover the Addams Family theme song. Is he's noodling on the harpsichord for a couple seconds, and then he starts da 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 da, and then he's like, and he gets it, and that's how they make the Addams Family theme song. Is Lurch just noodling on the harpsichord because he has nothing else to do. But yeah, you have to have Lurch on the harpsichord. You have to. I mean, that's an icon. Just like Thing. If you don't have Thing, you don't have the Addams Family.
Yeah, and the genius.
And they can do Thing much better than they did, because in the sitcom they were limited by having no actual special effects budget or special effects technology, so they always had to have a box, on a table to do Thing. They could go batshit with Thing in these movies, and they did, and they took full advantage of what a disembodied hand could actually do.
My favorite part is he's like, I can't understand you when you stutter, and it just is beautiful. It's so, because he's trying to do sign language, and he's trying to go fast. And you know that he's out of breath because he just ran, right? Not that hands can be out of breath, and he just it's played so beautifully. Like he delivers that line like he's talking to an actual person who's, oh man. So
and
good.
I thought what I thought was funny was that guy who they got to be Thing is, or at least was in the 90s, like the #1 hand model in the world. Like he was like, whenever you saw those old Zales commercials where the guy would like, oh, look at my watch. That was the guy. So they went and they looked at all that was the guy. So like this guy's career was all about his hands. And so they looked specifically at hands models, and that was the guy. Yeah, because he had
looking him up. He was actually a magician also, sleight of hand.
Yeah, like he did like mimes and magicians and stuff. But yeah, like his big career was that he had beautiful hands. And so like
just
I
like
love
David
that.
Duchovny and Zoolander.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Christopher Hart was the actor. Was the guy?
Yes.
There you go. Yeah.
But,
that's so
20
great.
points to Stormy for the Zoolander reference. Thank you.
yes.
Yes.
I'm not an Ambi Turner.
Yes.
We should all just look left.
Right.
But
why male models?
The one thing
I have to
No,
interject.
we're going to become a Zoolander post if we're not careful.
Go ahead.
No, it's just so apparently when Ben Stiller asks him again, and David Duchovny's all like, "Are you serious?" It's because Ben Stiller actually forgot his line, and David Duchovny was like, "Are you kidding?" Like,
Yes.
that's like one of the iconic parts of the movie, and I love that it's a flub.
I love it. That's awesome.
But Grandmama, again, great casting.
She's
Yep.
wonderful.
Both times.
Both times, yes.
Yeah.
Even though, of course, we switched grandmamas between 1 and 2, though, which was
Yeah, that's
kind
what I
of
meant.
Carol Kane, come on, like
Yeah.
Carol Kane destroyed the second one,
Great
but
in everything.
But Judith Malina was great.
yeah,
I don't think. I mean, yes, everybody remembers Carol Kane because it's Carol freaking Kane. But Judith Malina was really incredibly creepy
yes.
Mhm.
in that first movie. And I was kind of
They're at the hotel, and like she's like stalking the cat with like a baseball bat.
yeah.
And she opens the door and she's like, "Dinner's gonna be late." And then you just hear this dog like, "Bark, bark, bark."
The human spirit is hard to kill, even with a chainsaw.
Yes.
She had these great one-liners, and I think the funny part about her is, we all remember Carol Kane. Carol Kane, for me, always reminded me of Carol Kane playing as Grandmama. That's how she was in Values. Loved it. Never going to say a bad word about it. But it was her playing Grandmama. I was not familiar with Judith Malina, so I was not familiar with her. So when I see her, I'm like, well, that's obviously Grandmama. Like she just perfectly encapsulated Grandmama. And she, again, like just like Pugsley, you don't get a lot of time with her, but everything she does, like she spits out these zingers, man. Like she was a living meme back in the day, right? She just gets like 1.5 lines and she's going to knock you over with them every single time.
That is the grandmother I would like to be in, I don't know, 50 years or however long it's going to take for all of my spayed and neutered pets to have pets.
I have some bad news about that.
Wait a minute.
That's not where puppies come from. Wrong channel.
We're going to have to shut this thing down.
Yes, and everybody in the comments, yes, eventually we will probably get to a Street Fighter panel just so we can talk about Raul Julia as Bison.
Yeah, I know, like they really want us to talk about Bison. Look, the
that's a whole other panel.
Like and almost everybody.
Okay, we can't talk about Bison before we talk about Pubert.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Oh, and Pubert, the fact that his first scene is getting his ass slapped by Thing, right? Yeah. Like his very first scene in the movie. Oh, bam!
Yeah.
Actually, no, wait. If I remember correctly, it wasn't Pubert. That was another baby, wasn't it?
No, that's Pubert.
It was Pubert? Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's got your father's eyes. Gomez, get those out of his mouth.
Classic.
I love that the curve starts setting in, like his whole, like just magically his nursery is like storks of angels and white gauze, whereas before it was like spider webs and like the knife.
Yeah.
Well, when she's knitting and it has like 3 or 4 legs, like to tell Gomez that she's pregnant, like we don't know what we're gonna have.
And then she sadly is like reading The Cat in the Hat to him. She's just like,
she goes to the end, right? She flips to the end of the book because she wants to know how it ends, and she goes, "Oh, they live."
But she was so supportive of her child, thinking that was the best way to develop him. Right. And even if it wasn't her way, she wasn't going to force it on him. She wasn't going to be a mom that said, "Oh, you're a lefty, you're not going to be a lefty." Like that is parenting goals.
Absolutely. The Addamses accepted their kids no matter who they were, even if they were pastel Debbie clones. They were going to show up and they were going to make sure that they gave their kids their love, even if Gomez was going to die. Swing low, swing chariot, right? Like,
well, and again, that's we mentioned it before that one of the main themes that I love about this movie is that acceptance.
Yeah.
Of you're a weirdo, but we love you anyway, and we're gonna love you're our weirdo. And I love how the movie does take us on that journey, because it starts off, the Addams are a bit creepy and scary in that house when Fester moves in, and he's in that bedroom for the first night, and he's just laying there terrified.
Yeah.
With that great
sinks into the bed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What I love about the Addams Family movie, I love clearly a lot of things about it, but a lot of times when you have an Addams Family cast or a movie like this, that group is the other thing. They're the other thing that, oh, hello, Cat. Cameo by
an online event.
That's right.
Has interpolated itself into the town. Yeah.
Big fan? No, not really.
Is it a black cat?
But yeah. But the Percy, say hello. Hang on.
Oh, we got a cat.
Hi,
Percy.
Percy is not amused.
No, he is not. But what I was saying is a lot of, and even the sitcom, a lot of times referred to the Addams Family were these crazy people over here, and here are the normal people's reaction to them. Like, boy, those people sure are nuts. Let's not be like that. But in the Addams Family movie, the normal people are the crazy ones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's correct. That's the way. That's accurate.
Absolutely.
Says the panel of nerds.
Yes. Well, there's a reason I think that we all, as nerds growing up as weirdos and outcasts, latched onto the Addams Family so hard.
Yeah, and the Munsters for that matter.
I mean, and that's the thing, is that we always have to remember that as lucky as kids and people who are going into adulthood are now, because somehow we took over pop culture. Okay, not somehow. We were the ones writing it. We just kept writing the shit that we liked. We took over pop culture, and we're like, this is what is going on. People got it. They finally said, well, I want to enjoy that. I want to get into that. And they were allowed to explore the stuff that wasn't cool 30, 40 years ago. You know, and it's because we saw stuff like the Addamses, and we said, that's our tribe. You know, I mean, hell, when the Addams have the Mamushka, we haven't even talked about, like, out of all the best scenes, which again, from the beginning all the way to the end credits with the hammer rap, it's all the best scene. But out of all best scenes, the Mamushka rises to the top. You have all the Addamses,
full
and then
glory of the full family,
family, and then like the family friends, like the Amore sisters. They're not Addamses, right? They're just friends of the family, but they're also weirdos that come into the family, and all these different cats who are here, and they're all just a little bit off, and they're all like, you're a little bit off, I'm a little bit off, let's all be a little bit
they're
off
creepy
together.
They're kooky, they're just a little ooky.
Yeah. Oh, I thought it was spooky,
and they're all together ooky. Yes,
there we go. Okay, I was like,
all together they're ooky.
Exactly.
Well,
But I
you know,
like-
every culture has their dance, right? The Italians, we have the tarantella, and the Addamses have the mamushka, right? Like they even took that, like the chosen family, right? Whether they were friends of the family, whether they were extended cousins, whether they were cousins twice removed, or, you know, whether it was somebody they met somewhere, they all came together and had kind of that family reunion, and the family was important, whether or not you were blood. And it had the hallmarks of, you know, their own kooky culture, and everybody was welcome, and they were all just also looking for a little love. You know, the sisters were looking for someone, and Cousin It was looking for someone, and it was just normal people problems. And
again, with Cousin It hooking up with what's the character's name? Her coming into the fold, you know, the normal lady. You know, by the end, you know, she's an Addams.
But I love that she's still
Margaret. Her name was Margaret.
Yes, that she still looks exactly like the same as she did when she was married to Tully.
Yes.
But I think that's really actually kind of beautiful, because since we're talking about, and I think at the core, honestly, of the Addams is it really is about acceptance and love, and like not judging people and just being like, like, fuck yeah, let's, you know, whatever floats your goat, as I like to say. So I think that when she comes in and she's still like got that like very like 50s flipped hair.
Yes.
But then they have the baby, and she's like, oh, that's Thing. Like, that's his nickname that the doctor gave him. Like, it's just so phenomenal. And it's so heartwarming. Like, it really, really is. Like, when you think about, I mean, like we were talking about earlier, like, you know, if Pugsley did decide to become a young Republican, Morticia would be at all his rallies. Like, she'd be like, where did I go wrong? I love you. Like,
well, and also Margaret has a little bit in the after she transitions to being with It and you know, having a baby, her personality might still be the same, but she looks so much more comfortable. Like, she was obviously not happy in her marriage to Tully, and you could see it with her body language, with the way, you know, and when she found someone she could talk to, she visibly relaxed. And she was just so much, and not that he was abusive in the way that he was, but he was a little verbally abusive to her. And you can tell and the fact that maybe she doesn't have a lot of lines, but you could tell that in just her body language. It makes it just wonderful.
I was gonna say, I think when we talk about, like, again, like the understated but still like very standout, I think that's another example of just this whole ensemble cast where, like you said, she doesn't have a lot of lines, but like her whole like energy changes when she's, you know, when she finds this person, this thing, even though it's It, that, you know, she falls in love with and actually has like a real connection with. And it just, you know, she's like glowing, whereas before she was really kind of dour, which, I mean, it's understandable.
Yeah,
absolutely. But that's, again, when we look at what the Addamses really are, when we look at why this movie works, is that you have these characters who are just, first off, they're hilarious as hell. But when it comes down to it, it's all about these people accepting one another for who they are. They're a bunch of psychotic, murdering, crazy people, but that's okay because that's what they accept each other to be. And if you happen to be somebody who can accept them for that, they will accept you, and that means that you're not going to wind up in a pie, right? Like you're going to make it through hanging out with the Addamses. Just accept them for who they are. Like remember when they're unpacking Fester's bag, right? And she's going through, and they're like knives and explosives, and what was it? What was the poison that she had? It was
was it arsenic?
It was as if we'd run out right there.
Like she judged him more for that. Like, come on. Like, that's like,
you know what? She probably looked at that little bottle and she was like, "This is like for breakfast, right?" Like,
yeah.
Well,
it's like me running out of garlic. Come on now.
Yeah. To quote True Lies or paraphrase True Lies, they kill people, but only the bad ones.
Right. And quite frankly, and what's really great is that these movies have aged so phenomenally well. Literally the only part of either of the Addams movies that make me cringe a little bit, there's one scene from each of them. The first one is when they're about to dance to Mamushka and he mentions the Cossacks. And I'm like, no, we don't celebrate the Cossacks. Like the Cossacks, like literally went out of their way to murder other people because they didn't accept them. I'm like, we don't celebrate the Cossacks. And I was like, I don't think they realized that was going against the Addams tribe kind of mantra. But that's people who were writing Addamses not understanding who Addamses were.
Or
and the other one
is not understanding who the Cossacks were.
Or understanding who the Cossacks were, right.
Exactly.
But Mamushka was basically a variation on a Russian dance anyway. So
right. And I get that they were going for the Russian connection there. I get that. But then the other scene, of course, is in Values where the dancer and the cake. I always felt really bad for her. And I
yes.
And I kind of hated the fact that they were like, well, she's dead. Just let's keep the party going. It's funny, but it's really sad. Like,
well, but again, that's the black black humor that the Addams does go for. You know,
I mean, those carolers didn't deserve to have boiling oil poured on them either.
There is that.
But you know,
that's more. They were singing on Maddie. They were celebrating a happy time. You know.
Right. Yeah. But I tell you, that's the moment I knew I was all in on the movie. I went in to watch it and I was trepidatious. And we get to that scene, and I was like, okay, I'm in good hands.
Right. Yeah. But I will say this. I did always appreciate the fact that Gomez actually paused and they slowed the movie down for just a beat where he goes, "That poor girl."
Yes.
And then he pauses, and that's the whole somber moment. And then he turns around and laughs his balls off.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a
moment of silence.
Right.
And then I'm an Addams.
Right.
Yes.
And then just keep on going.
Yeah.
Those are the only two moments. Everything else is just spot on.
Yeah.
And when he's playing with the trains, and the music is on point, and he's oh man.
That is a Twilight Zone episode. That the guy reading his paper, right? And then Gomez is the god Gomez in the window.
Yeah.
I want a Twilight Zone episode of that guy's life on that train when he realizes he's about to die because Gomez is having a bad day. Yeah. That's a 30-minute episode if I've ever heard of one.
Speaking of episodes, I believe like in the future at some point, there's a Wednesday Addams TV series in the works.
Right.
Oh my God.
Supposedly. There's a lot of rumors going on right now.
I read also that Christina Ricci is interested in playing Morticia, which obviously I would be there for.
I would love that.
Yeah, there's a meme that's gone around of a picture of her as Morticia and Remy Malek as Gomez, and I'm like, yes.
All of that.
It's been going around a long time. The Christina Ricci as Morticia. I've been seeing it for like the last 10 years, and I will show up on day one for that. I will show up for Christina Ricci pretty much in anything because I love her. She's awesome. Yeah. But what we do know is Tim Burton is producing for Netflix a TV show called Wednesday. So that is happening. As far as are they bringing anybody back? I would love Angelica Houston to show up as Grandmama.
Oh,
and I would love Christina Ricci to be the new Morticia. That would just be the grand evolution of the characters. And that means in like 30 years, Christina Ricci gets to be Grandmama. Like, that's just how this should happen. You know?
Yeah.
Like,
and did anybody get to catch on YouTube the Adult Wednesday Addams series?
Yes.
Sadly got taken down because of copyright, but oh my God, it was a thing of beauty.
She lives on in memes, though. She lives on in memes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you should smile more.
But she was.
I may or may not have had a brief fight with my partner because we don't have a welding helmet. And I was like, how do we not have a welding helmet? Like, I feel like that's a thing that we should have. We have hard hats. We have, soldering tool. We have all kinds of other things. Why don't we have a welding helmet so that partway through the panel, I could just put it on and like recreate that scene. Like, why are we not doing this? I was like, that's it. Like, I think we might need to get divorced now. Like, this is not a, but then he handed me a Malice hard cider, which was good for, I can't. And so I felt like that was appropriate for the character tonight.
Guys, favorite, don't think about it too hard. I'm going to go all the way around. Favorite quote, don't think about it. Very fast, lightning round. Toni-Ann.
You told me not to think about it, and then my brain emptied.
Congrats. Yep, you're welcome.
Oh, that was not okay.
Dave Mattingly's suggestion of Sean Astin as Uncle Fester, I'm in.
I do like when we were talking about the trains, I do like when he says, and my husband pointed this out in the quote, that he's using the diesel. That was a great, like, that they could hear and they knew that meant he was in a bad mood. Like, that's a family that really knows each other.
Yeah.
So, Stormy, favorite quote.
Mine's it's gotta be from the second one where she's like, I could forgive all that, but pastels.
That's
that's just
and just the delivery, the line, that's Morticia.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Everything about that is Sean.
Well, it's kind of a double quote, which is and it goes back to the first thing we were talking about at the top of the show, which is Gomez looking to Morticia saying, Morticia, how long has it been since we've waltzed? And then she goes, oh, Gomez, hours. That is still, like, in a nutshell, that is their relationship, and I love it all day long.
Oh, wait. I actually, from the first movie, it's the part where she's like, don't torture yourself. That's my job.
My job. Oh, yes. That's another good one.
That's a great one.
I was torn between that one, but I like the waltz a little bit better because, like, she just swoons hours. Like, it's so great.
Again, I love how much they love each other and how passionate they
Yes.
are for each other. It's just,
The thing is, it's such a weird thing for there to be a couple that is unreservedly in love with each other.
yeah.
There's no conflict with their love for each other.
Mhm.
And I dig that 100%.
And it's something we so rarely get in fiction.
The whole thing has to be the journey. If they're already together, you got to break them up somehow, and they never go for that.
Actually, but
Yeah. So, Keith, favorite quote.
This is easy because it was my favorite quote 30 years ago, and it is my favorite quote today. Oh dear, what are you dressed as? A homicidal maniac. They look just like everybody else.
Yep.
Yes.
When she's in no costume. Yes, just dressed as
I will say that I used my best line and favorite line earlier, the one about are they made from real Girl Scouts, where she's talking about the Girl Scout cookies, and like that's that's quite possibly the best line. Though the homicidal maniac, again, that goes back to Wednesday delivering these like one line, like just bangers that are amazing.
Yeah. Gary, did you do one?
I did not, and I mentioned it before, but it's got to be and I'm trying to look up the actual, the fake Latin for it, but we gladly feast on those who would subdue us. I was working at a movie theater when the movie came out. Yeah, not just pretty words. And we had the standee for that. And when we took it down, when the movie left, I saved the family crest from that. And I had that for like 15 years before it got destroyed in the move. And it had the whole little thing, it was the shield and we gladly, and I have seriously considered getting that tattooed across my shoulders.
You know, actually another good line.
You are such a fucking nerd.
Another
But that's why we love Gary.
And Joe will back me up on this. I went back and forth on, should I do the Latin as in the movie, Or should I
Right.
get it done in actual Latin, how it should be said, because it's not actually phrasing in Latin.
It's
And
incorrect.
I had an existential crisis about this. If I do this,
A
You know, you
lot
could
of
do
movie
both. You could do like
accurate,
one on top and then one on the bottom.
Especially for something you're going to emblazon on your body for the rest of your life. You want to make sure you get it right.
exactly.
But you
No
know, Gary,
regrets.
there's another really great line.
Gary.
No
regrets.
regrets.
Right, but there's another really great line, and I always love this one too, which is 2, 10, 11, eyes, fingers, toes.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
I love that line. That line
Oh.
is so great. It's so stupid, and it's so great.
I used to
Sick,
tell people I could
gorgy-
only count to 21, and then I'd go, fingers and toes.
Sic
And of
gorgiamus
course, there
allos
was always-
subjectus nuc.
There was also, of course, and he's such a lady killer. Acquitted.
Yes.
With it, yes.
Yes.
My favorite, I think, again, everything is good. Everything is good. But it was on the tip of my tongue, and then I started talking, and now I've lost it.
See?
you did that to us.
That's what happened.
That's revenge for Toni-Ann.
Yeah.
And scene. I don't know. But sheesh, what the heck?
Or she's at that age of girl where she only has one thing on her mind.
Homicide.
Boy?
Homicide.
Yes.
And don't worry, we told Wednesday, college first.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, that's the thing about it's not just like one line, though there are some one-liners that are amazing. It's about like the groups of lines and how they're delivered. And I'm not upset at all when I listen to any of it and watch it. It's just so wonderful.
Seriously, when you even Toni-Ann was talking about it earlier. He's got the diesel out. Even that's a banger of a line, and it's you're talking about a damn train, and you're still cracking up. I mean, this movie from beginning to end, every part of it just works. And then of course you get to the Hammer rap at the end, the Addams rap at the end.
Yes.
Which I used to know every word of that song. I could sing the whole thing through when I was like 12 years old.
How am I not?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, Stormy knows me. Me and Stormy go back. She's like, yeah, that sounds like Shaun.
That's absolutely correct.
hey,
Like
by
that
the
shot.
time we get back to live action, we're gonna have to. Sean, you got to do it. We're doing.
I got it.
You got a few months. You got a few
They
months.
do
to
what
prep.
they want to do, say what they want to say, live how they want to live, play how they want to play, dance how they want to dance, sing, and they stomp a friend, the Addams Family. So something like that. So yeah, but I used to know the whole thing. I used to know all the Hammer parts, the whole blitz, man. I zoomed straight through. Oh man, I love that
MC
song.
Hammer, one of our greatest poets. Thank you.
And also,
Well,
can we
by the
also
way,
just
one
give
of
a
the
shout
things-
out? Go ahead.
Go ahead, Keith.
I just wanted to mention one of the things that I found out recently that I had actually not known at the time. Until he died, Raul Julia used to regularly visit kids in hospitals in character
Yes.
as Gomez Addams.
Oh,
He was all.
He was-
Throughout his life, he did all sorts of humanitarian stuff and charity work from when he was a little kid. Honestly, but he loved that character so much, and he loved the way people responded to the character. And he used to visit kids as Gomez, and they loved it.
And if he had
he
lived
was
longer, I
too
guarantee
beautiful
you,
for this world.
he was. But if he had lived longer, I guarantee you, Bison would have been rotated in. He would have been either
Oh,
Gomez
yeah.
or Bison.
The funny thing
You
is,
know,
he took on that role specifically because it was either his kids or his grandkids. I forget.
His kids, yeah.
His kids
Yeah.
loved the video game, and it was they helped him prepare for the part.
Right. And they
And
told him
they
that
thought
if he
that
didn't take the
because he
part,
did
they
that.
would never forgive him. They literally told him, "We will never forgive you if you don't take this part." And he was like, "Well, I gotta do it now." But I was going to say, musically, also just the whole soundtrack to the Addams Family is great.
Yeah.
And the Mamushka is the Mamushka is like legitimately a bop. Like that is legitimately like a fun song to listen to. It's too much fun, But yeah, Raul Julia.
Yeah.
Oh, I love Raul Julia.
Speaking of
I
too
was
much
so
fun,
bummed.
The both movies are out on Blu-ray. Addams Family Values actually didn't come out in Blu-ray until like last year, but it's a combo set with the first one. So if you don't own it, get it.
And you could watch it on Thanksgiving and then again on Christmas because they're a Christmas and Thanksgiving movie respectively.
It's backwards.
Yes, but that's why you watch both.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, that makes sense.
But we, guys, thank you for coming and hanging out with us. I don't know where I was going with any of it.
You didn't want to hang up the phone yet. You just wanted to keep going. That's
No,
all.
he's still trying to think of his quote.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, what's your quote, Gary?
Yeah, Joe never came up with his
Joe.
quote.
Come on, Joe. It's been like
we should
Come
play
on, Joe.
Wake the Dead.
Come on, Joe.
Wake the dead.
No.
Wake the
Keep
dead.
yelling. This helps.
Come on, wake the dead. Wake the dead, Joe.
Okay.
Get the shovel. That's half the
I'm
fun.
gonna poke him in the mamushka. Hold on.
Here it is. It's
I didn't know men could find the mamushka on a lady.
I've studied.
Look, I've been married 21 years. It's still in there. Nobody?
What?
Okay.
Do you really want us to tee up on that one? Because we can.
No, I don't.
Okay,
No.
like I mean, we could be here for another 15 minutes, and this could be not the American Sci-Fi Track.
Ladies and gentlemen, yeah, right. So, okay, here it is. Here it is. It's Bentley from the Jeffersons. Damn you, Addams!
That's a wonderful line.
Great line. Oh, or where he hands the golf balls back. He goes, everything goes to Fester, except of course, these are for you, and he just dumps them out on the.
Yes.
That would be a mistrial right there. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
If a judge did that in an actual courtroom, that would be a freaking mistrial.
Yeah,
There's no doubt.
When we were watching it, my boyfriend was all like, I think that guy's going to get disbarred.
Right? There's no way.
We never see him again.
Oh, that's what they did. The
Consequences in
Addams,
movies? That's what
they did.
Yeah.
The Addams sued, and they got him kicked off the freaking bench and got him disbarred. You know what, Stormy? You solved the riddle of what happened to the judge. They used
There
their
you go.
money, and they went after him.
Yeah, because
Speaking
we
of-
know Gomez had connections.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Speaking of questions, though, is
We broke Joe.
I'm still. I think.
Hey,
this is what I'm-
look,
no,
it takes a guy a few
whole
minutes
hour.
to recover from being poked in the mamushka. I mean,
That's
come on.
true. That's true. So is it the real Fester? Well, where do we fall on this? Where
I
did
say
we
it's-
fall on this?
I say it's the real Fester.
I
It
agree.
has to be the real
I
thing. Yeah.
agree. It's real.
Yeah,
I
otherwise
think
he'd have
it's better.
died.
I think it doesn't matter. He's an Addams.
Think about the mamushka. And Stormy's right. It doesn't matter he's an Addams now, but think about the
Indeed.
mamushka. He must have done that for so long that it was in his muscle memory. And
Mhm.
it took over. Right. And when Gomez was trying to get him to do it with him, he starts doing it like he's done it his whole life, and
Right.
and things started to kick in. So in my mind, that's
Yeah,
that
the
means-
Selling point for me.
Yeah, and also at the very end of the movie, he takes a freaking light bulb and he puts it in his mouth and it lights
Yeah,
up.
like that.
No fake Fester's going to be able to do that.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Okay. All right. See, this is the only reason I wanted to do this panel because I literally.
Yeah, it's like you're pissing me off,
Have you
Joe.
spent-
What? Like,
Joe, have you spent 30 years debating in your head whether or not that was the real Fester?
That's
never
why he
had
became a
anyone to
track
ask.
director.
That's
So that
what
he could
show up
host
at
this
night.
panel on the 30th anniversary and get answers to his questions. Thank you for answering my question
That's
in
the
real
only
Moonstruck
reason.
style.
Well,
And
Pat and
now
Manimal.
Joe can turn and walk off into the ocean alone, never to be seen again, because his question has been answered.
Good night, everyone.
he's going to be
And the
Kane
track is
Kung
now
Fu and just
mine.
roam the earth.
Can we play the sad Hulk walking away music as it happens?
Right, right. Just
It's mine now. It's all mine.
Even you start.
Yeah, and Gary Mitchell as Al Haig. Yes,
I understood that reference.
yes. If you don't
that
get
was
that
good.
reference, ask your parents.
So, guys, thank you again very much for spending the best hour and 8 minutes of your week with us on the American Sci-Fi Classics Track. We will be back next week, and our topic is that's the sad Hulk music.
I played the sad Hulk music because Stormy simply said Hulk music.
Nice.
We're doing 30.
I'm a chipper for sure.
Next week is, let me check. Yeah, run the math again. Yeah, next week is the 35th anniversary of The Legend of Zelda.
Yay!
We're doing it. So
I love him.
if you want to
Yeah,
be
I love
found-
Zelda. He's great running around with the sword and the bow. And
If you want to be
all your
found
hate
on
mail
the
goes
internet-
below.
If you want to be found on the internet, where can you be found, Toni-Ann?
I could be found on Twitter at the Jersey_Devil86 and on my website, thegeekydevil.com, where I am talking about watching Star Trek for the first time ever. I'm stuck on Voyager because life has been crazy because, we're in a pandemic or something. And I've also been reviewing Sports Night and other random movies and things that are not entirely geeky.
Oh, Sports Night is super geeky.
Sports Night is amazing.
Yeah. Stormy.
So my Twitter, which I only use to sexually harass Hendrik Lundqvist every hockey season,
It's true.
it's true. I'm always like, put it in my basket. And to be fair, he has not blocked me yet, so I'm pretty sure we're gonna get married. But yeah, it's Tempest and then Zero Mouthy on Twitter. Did I break Toni-Ann? What is happening?
Yeah, like Tony went and like grabbed. She grabbed her puppy.
He was giving me the eyes, but he didn't want to get up. This is Professor Zoom, and he wanted to be part of the panel because he heard Stormy was talking about hockey.
Yay! Yes, and I are now best friends. He will be best dog at my wedding to Hendrik Lundqvist. So yeah, my Twitter is Tempest and then Zero Mouthy. I'm not on there very often. This is my Facebook handle, Tempest.omouthy. I can't remember if my Instagram is a 0 or a dot. I don't know. Just look for Tempest O'Mouthy and you'll just see me being like all over the internet. It'll be fine.
That's my favorite Twitter name. So
I also like
breaking Joe tonight. This is awesome.
While we're talking about Twitter and what I do on there and how it's all literally going to get me restraining orders, the other thing I like to do is my birthday is March 8th. It's International Women's Day. So every year on my birthday, I tweet at Ryan Reynolds that I get to peg him and that it's not my fault. He made the rules. And like Hendrik Lundqvist, he has not blocked me. So I'm pretty sure we're going to have an Eiffel Tower on my honeymoon. Just
Yep.
Goals.
Kids, ask your parents.
Hashtag goals. Come on.
Yeah. Well, I just actually put it up.
Yeah. Follow the Eiffel Tower, Shaun.
Well, no, I'm not gonna. I'm just gonna say, yeah, Instagram, Twitter, there, boom, Numa Z. If you want to watch our Twitch, boom, there, Pop Cycled, and we actually have been putting together Random Fandom. Laura and I took a break on doing any kind of like broadcasting just because like let's just relax for a little bit. And I said to myself, when she asks, "Hey, when are we going to do Random Fandom?" We're going to pick it up. And she said this week, she's like, "I'm ready to do it." And I'm like, "Oh yeah," because we've been talking about this. We're going to go through the entire Friday the 13th series as our very first episode because she wants to talk about her favorite Friday the 13th movie. And nobody's going to guess what it is because it's just uniquely Laura. So if you're curious about that, you should come check it out because it will crack you up.
You have that Shout Factory collection, right?
Okay, so here's the deal, right? So basically it was between that and it was between getting stuff that was going to get here within her birthday. It was going to take a month for it to get here. And I started shopping for her birthday like 2 weeks before it. So it just wouldn't get here in time. So instead, she got really expensive booze and she loves it.
I'm still saying, though, if they're her favorite movies, you need this collection.
Yeah, she got some Lagavulin. So she got a...
That's a better present.
She loves scotch, so she got Lagavulin for the first time because she's always wanted to try it since she's seen Parks and Rec. And I'm sorry, Joe, this is my show now. So anyway...
Well, at first I thought you said boobs, and I was like, "Well, that's
boobs."
Yeah, and then I thought it was boobs,
and I was like, "What?
Okay, well, Stormy, you know my wife. She's got boobs. She doesn't need any help in that department." So.
I was very confused.
Well, no one says it for her. Maybe they're for you.
I was just like getting into the abyss.
No, I'm good. So.
No, Lagavulin is a good choice. That's some good.
There we go. Hey, I followed up the Eiffel Tower.
Go ahead, Keith. Try to top that.
I'm not even gonna.
Just join the pile with me and Ryan and Hendrik.
Okay, search for that name on the internet. I guarantee there are no other Keith DeCandidos in the world, which is really for the best. But if you go to decandido.net, you will see my incredibly terrible website, which will link you to all the places where I hang out. I am incredibly easy to cyberstalk. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. I write regularly for Tor.com. I blog on far more often than is probably wise in an age when blogs are dying, but I do it anyway, so there, yeah. And I have lots of books out, including my next book is called All the Way House, which is part of the Systema Paradoxa series, which is a series of novellas about cryptids. My particular novella is about the Jersey Devil, and yes, and Toni-Ann believes it's
I'm
not
not
her.
excited at all.
Don't tell her it's not about her. It'll ruin it for her. But it's about the secret origin of the Jersey Devil, and it's a story that spans 3 centuries, and it's awesome. And you should all pre-order it right now and buy it because it's brilliant. So there.
A completely unbiased opinion.
Totally unbiased. Yes.
And Gary Mitchell.
You can find me on the Twitter here at Gary_Mitchel. Mitchell is with 1 L because my family was weird. And you can find me on the Facebook, and you can find me here every week on my new track that I've taken control of.
Because we broke
shove.
No.
No. Yeah. So yeah,
Your
every
Mamushka
week.
is going to be raw by the end of this cast.
Already. Yeah.
And come find Joe and I at DragonCon and ask us to show you exactly where to find your Mamushka, and I will gladly demonstrate.
But if they're the only people in the room, you're not going to be able to find
What
it.
is happening?
And then right outside the door, the police will ask you to show them on the doll where they touched you.
Show us where the Mamushka is.
Show us on the doll where the Mamushka is.
Show us on Fester where the. Okay, ladies and
Well,
gentlemen.
it sort of festers.
Sorry.
Poor Joe.
We have tried. We
I'll
did
be in
4
here.
weeks of musical marathon fake bands, and I don't think we made Joe as flustered as we made him tonight.
What is
I
happening?
agree. Yes.
Joe is the dad of the classics track, and we're just unruly children.
And we're all
tonight.
the unruly teenage. We are the Wednesday Addamses of the track. Yes.
He's just trying to Clark Griswold his way to Wally World, and it's just not happening. Like we're screwing up. We're messing up the paneling on the side of the freaking car.
I just wanted to talk about Manimal.
That's the whole reason. That's all he wanted. He wanted to answer if
I'm
Fester
gonna do
was
that
real.
anyway. I'm gonna do that anyway. Y'all don't
You
have
will.
to be
You
here.
can't stop him. I've been trying to stop him talking about Manimal for 30 years now. It hasn't worked.
I've given Joe so much shit from Animal, and he keeps coming back for it. You gotta love that perseverance. You gotta love that, though.
Yeah.
It's all fun and games until somebody brings out Manimal.
Yes.
Yep.
And he keeps.
And then you have to one up them with Auto
He's
Man.
like Charlie Brown. He keeps trying to kick that football. We keep yanking it away, and he keeps coming back every time.
Yeah. And a big thank you to everybody watching on the Facebook and on the YouTube and everything. Thank you for coming to hang out.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we will see you next week when you will hear Gary Mitchell say,
I actually never played Legend of Zelda.
Oh my God, we got to break up. Not even kidding.
"Good." That's a good place to. That's a good cliffhanger for next
How,
week.
Gary?
Next
How have
week
you
is
never
Gary
played it? Not even like a little bit?
I never
I
had a
haven't either, for
Nintendo.
what it's worth.
I
So,
never had a Nintendo.
Me either.
My family was
You have
poor.
friends?
No.
You got to make friends with a kid with a Nintendo.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny actually. My parents actually never. Yeah, like seriously, like my parents would never buy it for me because they were like, "Well, it's the gold cartridge. We're not going to buy that gold cartridge for you." I'm like, "Why not?" Like for some reason they were like biased against the gold cartridge, and like, but I would go to my friend's house and play it. Gary, like even I, who could not get the gold cartridge, could play the
I
Gary.
didn't have friends.
Gary,
Poor
you
None of my
had-
friends had Nintendo.
did they all have
I
Sega? Wait, hold on. He
so-
might have an excuse. Did they all have Sega, buddy? Were they
I had
Sega people?
Sega.
That's
I had
okay.
Sega.
All right. But you didn't have a Nintendo and exclusively like did not play it. It was because you were in a Sega world.
Yeah.
That's okay.
You
I
guys-
played a
you
lot of
guys
Crash
are all
Continue
Bandicoot.
this
bigger than me.
discussion in
Next
1
week.
week's time when we will talk more about Gary's lack of Legend of Zelda. Until then,
Alas, poor Yorick.
alas, poor Link. Ladies and gentlemen,
And anyone who didn't watch this panel, we'd pity them.
seriously,
This is the
Guys,
panel they
thank
should
you.
suggest to everybody. Yes.
we will see you again very, very soon.
Bye.
Hit in, Joe. Hit